So we're back. It's only been 11 days since we test fit that torque converter. Now we finally have time to get the rest of the project done.
Yeah, it couldn't be a more perfect day. It's like 77 out and barely any wind, no bugs yet. So I don't know, today's been going too well so far.
I'm hoping that the torque converter issue was our big problem for this entire project and that we don't have another bigger problem around the corner.
Right.
So goal today, of course, is to get this into the garage, and then we're going to go ahead and bolt in the motor, make sure it fits all right, and then we'll go assemble all the components to it.
And then Sunday, 2 days from now, the computer's gonna get retuned on it for the 6.2, and then hopefully it'll be running.
Hopefully. So we'll get this thing prepped for rolling in. It looks like Jack's already getting the motors unwrapped, and I don't know what else he's doing in there. Jacking off, probably. There's a reason we call him Jack.
Jack Mayhofer.
If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have a job to find. And if I work tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'll fall asleep when I'm home. When I'm home. I was just so far from here, focused on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of this fire, was not aware of this nightmare, but when I stopped to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now, to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try to define.
Now, kids, remember, smoking will kill you. Isn't that right, Jack?
Yeah.
So anyhow, we made a ton of progress today, didn't we?
Surprisingly, yes. I am shocked that it allowed us to, the karma.
I mean, we spent a few hours on it, but we met our goal for the day, which number one was just getting this bitch in the garage. I mean, we had to use the Honda to pull it in part of the way, but that got us into position where we could get a good run at it.
So now, the angle of this thing was kind of tough to get it to line up, but we were able to finesse it. There's no brute force needed.
No, and that rarely works because the alignment is so precise. And after we got that to made up, which took a while, then we had to clock the motor in a proper direction by, what did you do? Lowered it onto the motor mounts that got it in close enough position?
Yes.
And there's two dowels on either side that mates up with two holes on the transmission casing. So that was the hardest part of the day, is getting that to line up and mate perfectly.
The reality is that the case cannot be mated against the engine, which is even more bizarre. And old school was no issues like that, but this one is so tight that the torque converter spun with the flex plate, and that made it impossible to turn the motor into the proper orientation for the bolting of the torque converter. So we ended up having to loosen those bolts and pull it away a little bit, and then it moved into its proper location. We ended up using the stock bolts with red Loctite because the ones that came with the torque converter, we saw that they were grade 8 and but they were only going to be into the welded nut about 2 or 3 threads, and we said no, that's got to go farther, being as he's going to supercharge this bitch and all that too, so we got to make certain that it's going to hold.
The next step is reattaching everything that was mounted to the motor in the first place, which, you know, only take what, 2-3 hours?
If that. It's probably within an hour. The harness routing is going to be a challenge. So it's a learning curve because we have not done this before. You want to make certain that it's correct. It has to be right, because if you're beaten on a motor, you have to make certain that your assembly is correct, obviously. And that, thankfully, Ray, our engine guy, has done it. We'll find out. Sunday is when we got to try and run it, right?
Today's Friday.
So we have one full day tomorrow to thrash on the damn thing to make sure that it's ready at least for him to run it.
And it's a 2012, not a 62.
Right.
Yes.
Where that would have been, yeah, we could have had that done by now. See? 62.
Did not have all that.
Right.
It was all mechanical. None of this electronic bull that we got to deal with today. So the biggest advice you had for the project is removing the wheel tubs, right?
The wheel tubs in front, yes. But they're also called the inner fenders to the purists. I mean, you speed up the process considerably.
So what's your progress report for the day?
The AC compressor is back on, amazingly.
That was a bitch.
GM had some real design geniuses work on this one, being as there's no pivot point for the compressor itself.
Yeah, normally what you get is like a pivot point so you could rotate this in towards the harmonic balancer there. Or there's like a tensioner wheel and like extra one like up top that presses down to put tension on there, so you can put the belt on with little problems and then you tension it up, or you rotate the compressor out to tension the belt. But this has none of that. It's just got 4 bolts on the side. So you tell me, how in the world are you expected to do that easily?
We will find out. We got to take a look at the service manual if we can ever find one.
We looked for one, and we didn't want to spend, you know, the $8,000 and they're not really $8,000, but they're out of our price range. What we had to do was pull this forward, rotate the front inward so that we could put the belt on. And even after it was in position, the back end was cocked out because of the tension on the front end. So we literally had to use a couple different screwdrivers to pry it into position and then, you know, tap it and maneuver it so the holes on the side lined up. So what we had to do is put these back bolts in first so we can get the AC compressor flush, because there's a much looser tolerance for the bolts in back, and then maneuver
Pry and hammer.
yeah, pry, hammer, and otherwise maneuver the front end into position so we could get the front bolts in.
Now,
And
when
that
you're-
took like what, an hour?
But anyway, that drama is done, and
Unless
I
you're a
already
GM
told
tech
him.
and you have the right tool or technique or whatever.
Whatever, yeah. We still got to deal with a brake booster hose. The transmission dipstick is going to go back onto the passenger side. Wanted to make certain that the harness was in the proper spots before I installed that. So I would say that we're 75% from running the motor.
Yeah, I mean, because what we could have done is just installed the motor and then pulled the motor out, installed the camshaft for naturally aspiration, then pulled the motor again and installed the camshaft for supercharger, then installed the supercharger. That's 3 motor removals, and that was not an option.
You
So
don't have to remove the motor to take the cam out.
oh,
That is correct. How dare you even think that you have the inkling of how a motor is put together in the bank?
why do you always got to yell at me like that?
Because you're a faggot, all right?
But that's where we're at today. We'll see where we're at tomorrow.
All right, this is the tru-cool 40K transmission cooler. This has the thermal bypass for cold weather operation. That means if it's cold out, it's not going to try and cool it further. That's the hardware we're going to use to mount and hook it up. And then we've got a comparison here. So this is the new one. This is what we're replacing. This little tiny thing right here. It's a massive change. So we want to make sure that everything stays cool. But this cooler is highly recommended. So I'm pretty excited to get this in here, and we're going to get on that next.
Yourself. Why are you videoing me?
Because this is the part of the show where we like to annoy Jack by asking him such questions as, what are you doing? Why are you here?
Are you done yet?
I am not done yet. But we are done with one step, which was the oil or transmission cooler.
Which is this bit right here.
Massive. The bypass valve makes it so that the transmission fluid doesn't get too cool when it's driving in the wintertime. If it gets too cool, then you'll get moisture inside your fluid, and you don't want that. But with the smaller stall converter, higher stall, it's smaller dimension, creates more heat, and you'll be towing, so this is necessary. We must have increased it by 3.
Yeah, I really like how this is installed. I mean, it's solid. So none of this baloney zip tied and positions call it good stuff. It's mounted with a decent amount of hardware. So the next step is to get these headlights installed. Oh look, he's already getting to work.
Yep, so end the video.
That's it? She's done? Well, she's not done yet. She's missing her crown. So, are you going to do the honors there, Jack?
Yes.
Here it is.
Very nice.
Hold on. Let me get some light in here. She's on.
Perfect song for it, too.
The little things that kill.
That's been like the whole entire theme for the project. Just little things that kill us. Torque converter, the length of time it took to get the cam installed, and now, as of today, our tune guy failing to show up. All right, well, shall we close this hood and show it all put together? They look perfect, man. All right, now get in there and open the hood. Make sure it opens.
I know. It's gonna freak me out if it don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, till next time, and hopefully it'll be running, because if it isn't, this poor here is going to end up with some serious ass hurt.
I'm shaking, man, with anticipation.
I'm going to hit you with it, not you with it. There's a big difference.
Oh, believe me, I know.
All loaded up and ready to go. Wow. That was a lot more daring than I would have been. Yeah, perfect.